So, data science's challenges and opportunities. So this is, I'm going to call this like a public lecture, just to give you some examples, maybe to demystify a bit about what data science is. I think we've got about sort of 15 minutes to an hour. So, there we go. You may have seen that image a little bit earlier. So every minute of the day in 2019, the year we're currently in, I won't go through every single one, but just perhaps pick out a few. #love is posted 23,211 times. Goodness me. Tinder, I believe it's some kind of dating app. I've never used it. But apparently, gosh, 1.4 million swipes either left or right, I think, whether you like or dislike the person. Is there a relationship between the number of Tinder swipes and how many occurrences of #love? Well, that's quite a small frequency relative to the 1.4 million. 188 million emails are sent every minute. Many of them are in my inbox. So there we go. Just an eclectic mix, but an example about the amount of data being collected. Fun fact, fun statistic, I love statistics. It's been said that approximately in the last about 2 years, more data have been collected digitally than in the rest of human history combined. Just think about that for the moment. Just in about the last 2 to 3 years, it's an estimate, but I think a ballpark figure is about right. Last 2 to 3 years, more data collected digitally than in the rest of human history combined. Now let's just extrapolate that trend into the future. Let's assume that that trend does continue. So the fact that you are here now considering, clearly one of our degree programs offered here. So by the time, if you decide to sign up for these, and I strongly encourage you to apply, but by the time you would be graduating, remember it's a dual degree program, 4 years of study, I mean we could expect that the amount of data that's been collected up to now, that amount or more so could have been generated again just by the time you graduate. So there's no shortage of data out there. Of course, a lot of that data is useless. Some of it will be useful, such that although there is data everywhere, we do need to distinguish the signal from the noise. Our goal is to filter out the signal from the noise. Now, of all of that data collected, I mean, just the last couple of minutes that I've been speaking, to think how much more has been generated just in that time. How much of that is actually analysed by anyone, or indeed by a computer, and acted upon? I will have a stab at maybe like 1%, something of that order of magnitude. There's a huge amount of data being collected, that's not the problem, but it's making sense of it. And who's to make sense of that? That will be the role of the data scientist. So just some summary thoughts initially, and then a few examples to come. So now, you could have many different speakers here giving a talk with exactly the same title, then I have a very different take on it. If you ask someone to give a concise definition of data science, I'm sure there would be great variation in the responses you would hear. This is my offering. Viewing it as a data science, about exploring and discovering new patterns, trends, and outliers. I just use that word trend, extrapolating the trend at the rate at which new data are digitally recorded. But one does need to explore the data. You need to explore those 1.4 million Tinder user swipes, the 4.5 million YouTube users watch. That needs to be explored, and hopefully, sooner or later, one can never predict quite how quickly these discoveries can be made, but we do need to go looking for them in the first place. Outliers as well, extreme observations. They can be flagged up by a machine quite easily, but very often, still, some human insight is required. You know, a machine could flag up, red flag some sort of suspicious transaction in a bank account, say. But maybe it's a legitimate transaction. So it's not the be-all and end-all for the machine to make these red flags. We will require a human brain, some human insight to make a judgment on it. Now, are offering here data science and business analytics. We could have called it a BSc in data science. We could have called it a BSc in business analytics. And had we, and just treat it as a sort of single area, then the degree program structure, the 12 papers I outlined earlier, would have a slightly different flavour in that. So when we were designing this new program about 2-3 years ago, we decided to combine the two. So, and I come back to that excellent Venn diagram that was presented earlier. Communication, statistics, programming, business insight. All of that really features are necessary for the perfect data scientist. So the examples students would see in the degree program are very much business oriented, and indeed in this talk I'll focus more on a purely business or commercial function. But it isn't just limited to the corporate sphere. The public sector, governments the world over are collecting vast amounts of data. Are they really analysing it for the public good? Would this allow a better arrangement of the transportation system, maybe reduce congestion in city centres, maybe improve healthcare provision, school provision, huge scopes to apply it in, let's say, the public sector. But I'll focus more on the business side. Discover new markets. Indeed, if you were here 5 years ago, you would not be attending an open day hearing about this degree program. It didn't exist. Not just in terms of the UOL LSE programs, but universities worldwide. We've not really been quite slow to the party. Degree programs at undergraduate or master's level in this field, these are still very much a new thing. And indeed, universities are a quasi-business. We need to provide in education, the degree programs, the modules within it, not just things that we like to teach, but things which are going to be useful for students in the real world as upon graduation, they'll need to get the appropriate jobs. So, discovering new markets in higher education. This is a prime example of it. To launch this, we didn't just wake up one day and say, oh, let's just do this, it's something new. We needed to do the market research. We needed to test out, was there sort of viable demand, sufficient demand to make this a viable proposition. So discovering new markets, new opportunities. Third one, optimize and improve a business. I'll take a classical economist approach now. If you study microeconomics, and you would in paper 1, Introduction to Economics, there's the classical assumption of a profit-maximizing firm. Firms like profits, they like to make money. Maybe your business is making money. It is profitable today, but is it making the maximal profits it could? So trying to refine and improve existing things as much as introducing new things. And deploying predictive analytics. I love this. Frankly, decision making. The fact that you are here today is because, whether you are a student or parent of said student, a decision is to be made in your household. A decision about what your higher education program to follow. A decision, maybe you don't need to finalise your decision this afternoon, but in the coming days, weeks, months, you will need to make a decision about what happens next. At the time you make a decision, that moment in time will be in the present. But the consequences of that decision will not be realised until some future time point. Let's say your primary objective when deciding on which degree program to pursue is to maximise your career prospects, say. Money isn't everything, but clearly we want to be comfortably off. Upon graduation, we want to get a good job in whatever sector, in whatever country. But of course, the future is always uncertain. It's been said the only certainties in life are death and taxes. And in my case, computer crashes as well. But everything else, sadly, is uncertain. So decision-making is always under uncertainty. Now, whether you like uncertainty or not, we have to live with it. On the bad side, uncertainty makes decision-making very difficult. You would love to say, if you were considering these 5 different programs of study, if you could have a crystal ball today and know exactly what your career would look like at the end of having pursued this one up to this one, it would make your decision making so easy. You would just say, well, which is the best of those outcomes, and then you would do that. But sadly, none of us has that magic crystal ball. So it makes decision making very difficult. I need good hand gestures for the photo. Is that okay? Was a follow-up. Sneaky follow-up. However, uncertainty does have its upside. It makes life exciting. Imagine if the rest of your life was completely mapped out and you knew exactly what was going to happen. Whether you personally are destined for a good future or a bad future, I hope it's a good future, but it would be a very boring existence. Businesses, though, crave certainty. They hate uncertainty. So how do we quantify uncertainty? That's where the statistics strand, or set in that Venn diagram, comes in through probability. So we can look at deploying our predictive analytics. Data science has multi-dimensions to it. And I'll run through a few of them later on in this talk. But the key thing is data visualization, or data viz, to give it a sort of perhaps a sexier, shortened name. Indeed, as part of this degree program, one of the modules, a compulsory module within it, is called Business Analytics, Applied Modeling and Prediction. A smorgasbord of terms there, but part of it is this idea of data visualization. Tableau is one among others, but a very popular data visualization tool. Students on the degree program will get a fully licensed version of this. And what does it allow you to do? Well, it comes back to that opening definition. Exploring, discovering new patterns, trends, and outliers. Well, take all of that huge volume of data. It's very difficult for the human eye to make sense of a load of numbers. It's very easy for the human eye to make sense of pretty pictures. The power of data visualization. You will be instructed about how to use the software and generate visualizations. Let's just take this one here. I am based in the UK and hence it's more Western Europe centric. But the power of colour there. Immediately, well, this is more a descriptive exercise. We've taken a huge amount of data of some company and now trying to focus, well, there we go, profitability. This firm is profit maximizing. It's likely to be profit maximizing. Is it achieving that objective in all markets? Well, at a purely descriptive level, no equations here, but certainly with the use of colour, we can see visually, quite clearly, immediately where we're performing well, where we are performing less well. Of course, this is not answering the question of why. This is purely describing the data about which markets are profitable and which ones seem to be loss-making. So it's a bit of detective work. We've discovered some sort of pattern about, you might see there's more blue in certain geographical areas, more orangey, brown, red in other areas. And now we have a reason to investigate and deep dive, although I personally hate that phrase, but deep dive into perhaps the red or orange regions and understand why. This comes back to the LSE motto, rerum cognoscere causas, to understand the causes of things. Why are certain parts of Scandinavia losing us money? Okay. If we understand the why, then that's going to impact what decisions we may take. Is it that we're just going to close those markets? Or is it, if we can understand, maybe we can change, we can improve what we're doing? Maybe our pricing is wrong. Maybe our marketing is wrong. Maybe there's bad customer service in those markets. If we understand that, can remedy that, we can turn those yellow, red, brown areas into dark blue areas. So data visualization, one component of a data scientist. Indeed, something which is great for even non-technical people. That software can be, you can pick up the basic skills on that within about an hour or two. And a picture speaks allegedly 1,000 words, and initially we can make some early discoveries. I've got a short video for you. Can I play a short video? Yay! Right, this is where we hope we have the right kind of, there we go, only about 2-3 minutes long.
This is the countdown to the biggest online shopping day of the year. Not just in China, but the world. It's called Singles' Day, held on the 11th of November. Get it? All the ones. And it's a hugely successful shopping festival invented by Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba. In 2017, Alibaba earned a record 168.2 billion yuan, or 25 billion US dollars, on that day alone. And it keeps making more money every year. But shoppers aren't just handing over their dollars. Singles' Day might well be Alibaba's biggest data collection event of the year too. Take Taobao, for example. It's one of Alibaba's most popular shopping apps. It monitors not just what you buy, but what pages you view, what you bookmark, and uses artificial intelligence to predict what you're most likely to buy. Alibaba says it does this to tailor its recommendations to you, so you have a better shopping experience. And what it's doing is pretty common in e-commerce, just like other sites like Amazon. They're doing it as well. But when it comes to Alibaba, it's doing it on a whole other scale. Over 600 million people are using Alibaba's China retail sites and apps, and millions more are using their other businesses like financial services and entertainment sites. All of these customers are generating a huge mountain of data. Alibaba then shares this data with partner companies, so they can better market their products to you. That's what it did in May 2017 with PepsiCo. It's also touting a new way for retailers to put customers' data even in offline stores, such as in Alibaba's own supermarket chain. We asked Alibaba how they protect customers' privacy, and this is what they said. We view data privacy as a top priority, and any information shared with brands, merchants, or other third parties is provided on an aggregate and anonymous basis. And for many Chinese customers, the convenience and great deals that they got may have outweighed their privacy concerns. But that's starting to change. The government has put in place stricter data protection rules after recent complaints. This means the issue of privacy may become even bigger for Alibaba in the future.
Okay, so I very much like that sort of case study example. Singles' Day, it's like the anti-Valentine's Day. It's a fairly new initiative in China. I think it only began in 2010, 2011, something like that. The idea being that on Valentine's Day, you do something for your partner, but if you are single, don't be depressed, go shopping instead. When is Singles' Day? It's on the 11th of November. Oh, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow. Quite topical, okay. Now that video was from about a year ago, and there you saw the 25 billion US dollars in 2017's Singles' Day. The 2018 figures, when it was started up, I think it was something like $32 billion, just in a 24-hour period. Fast forward, well, what are they going to achieve tomorrow? Of course, we don't know. That's looking into the future. But we could perhaps have looked at trends about how the, there we go, a little graph, T for time, looking at the amount of money generated from these sort of around about 2011 onwards. Of course, the trend has been up. And if you can detect some sort of trend in there, you may make your predictions about what's going to happen in 2019 and, of course, beyond. Actually, year on year, the absolute revenues have been increasing, although the rate of increase has been tailing off. Perhaps this is a bit more accurate. It's been going up year on year, but growth potential is getting less and less. China is a very big market, but even it will have a saturation point. 600 million customers or so in 2017. Well, there's only there's so much room for growth thereafter. But I love that little clip on many respects. One of the key things, if I could just freeze frame a moment to try and just summarize where we're going with perhaps the statistics element. There we go. Just a freeze frame on this one. Uses artificial intelligence to predict what you're most likely to buy. Okay? Prediction. Predictive analytics. Well, when you're predicting about the future. Your prediction will have some uncertainty attached to it. Now, Alibaba has clearly got a huge volume of data that it's been analysing, but I think that's a lovely sentence to try and capture what our sort of predictive analytics is about. Namely, reducing things to a simple probability. A simple probability. Probability of 0, it's impossible. A probability of 1, it's certain. Anything in between, I'm going to call that a sort of maybe event. Maybe it occurs, maybe it does not occur. More likely in this direction, less likely in that direction. Now, how are they reducing these things to these probabilities? Clearly they're collecting data on a huge number of variables. We heard it was not just what people bought, but what other pages they browsed, how long they've been browsing those pages, things they bookmarked, and then no doubt demographic details on these customers as well. Where do they live, gender, age group, estimated income group. If you know where they live, their address is a strong signal about what their income level, income itself may be. So, predictive analytics, trying to predict a probability of something. It could be as simple as trying to predict a sale, or would someone buy a particular product. Let's perhaps have a very simple sort of prediction matrix. So, a prediction could be a simple binary prediction. So, in a commercial setting, you're predicting whether someone is going to buy a product or that they don't buy the product. Note you are classifying someone as of one type or another. If, let's say, we relate it to our probabilities, we might decide, it seems intuitively reasonable here, let's say 0.5 is the threshold point. If this probability of purchase is above 0.5, we will classify them as someone who's going to buy. If it's below 0.5, less likely that they would buy, we'll classify them as not buy. Okay? So we're doing a binary classification, one thing or the other. Well, let's say we do this, then if we predict they're going to or would buy this product at a specific price, say, we may wish to push this product to them using some sort of notification, email, whatever. So there's our prediction, and let's say we need to compare this with what the truth would be about whether they really would buy this product or not. Okay. So, buy, not buy. So predictions, and this is the simplest kind of prediction model because we're only predicting one of two types. Clearly we could have multiple classifications. Very likely to buy, moderately likely to buy, etc. But simplicity is a beautiful thing. This is good enough to demonstrate the principle. Clearly, cases here would be correct predictions. They thought they would buy, and then this customer subsequently buys the product. This would also be a correct prediction. They predicted not to buy, and indeed would not buy. This one is incorrect. They thought they would not buy, but they did. Also incorrect, thought they would buy, and they did not. Right, wrong, wrong. However, in terms of this, your action is likely to be taken only in this case. If you think rightly here or wrongly here, if your prediction is they will be of this type, it's likely you will take some kind of action. Start marketing, advertising this product, pushing it to them somehow. Okay. Of course, in this case, you are not going to be taking any action. If you think they're not going to buy or feel there's no likelihood they would, then you won't act. Now, for these people, that's an okay thing because you correctly classified them. In this case, it's a mistake because actually they would have bought had they maybe been aware of that product. Awareness. Okay, you are now aware of this degree program because you've come here today. But maybe a few weeks, months ago, maybe you were unaware of this. So what made you aware? Did you actively seek this thing out? Was there some kind of social media campaign? I don't know what advertising was done, but clearly there was a time you did not know about this, and then you did learn about this. But was this down to you and your research, or were you helped in this process through some kind of clever marketing, say? Trouble is with these ones, these would be unknown mistakes, because if you've not actively targeted them, and let's say they were not aware, and therefore they did not buy just because they weren't aware. Whereas had you made them aware, then they would have bought. Mistakes, yes, but mistakes that you're never going to know anything about because you assumed that they were not going to buy. So this is a mistake, a wrong prediction. This is also a wrong prediction. Of course, this one you would actually know in the end because now you take some action, you push the product to them, and then you discover that they didn't actually buy. So both are wrong predictions, but these ones, in time, we can find out about, e.g. for you. I'm sure perhaps there's some list and you had to register to come here, then they'll monitor who will buy from you. Apply. It's not apply kind of thing. Okay. Now we can see that you're here, and we can monitor, no doubt, about whether you do subsequently apply or not. Maybe there are other people who would love to do this program, it's just that they are unaware, and maybe they've not been made aware through the marketing has failed in that case. There may be some. How many? Where are they? Sadly, we don't know. So, errors. Is one error worse than another? Well, that's a subjective viewpoint. Just like this one we can quantify, this one not. Also at the tail end of the video, I don't want to go heavy into it, but this issue of data privacy. And as the commerce goes increasingly online, I think gradually, not just in China but worldwide, consumers, are you prepared to sacrifice personal information about you in order to get a better offer, a better price, more well-targeted options? Well, it seems in that report, for now, the Alibaba customers in China feel the trade-off, the balance is about right. What they're getting in terms of better prices, products, promotions, tends to outweigh the information they're giving about themselves. But there was a warning at the end that maybe that balance is starting to shift. Data protection laws, are they up to date for the digital era? Globally, I'd say very much not. I think the lawyers are going to have a bit of a field day in the decades ahead. So the legal aspect of your data collection, data analysis, use of that data, I think that's going to be a major challenge in the years ahead. But I would say I'm not a lawyer, but be aware of that. So, now let's look at the positives. Opportunities. Many, not necessarily in all, but many problems we want to solve are inferential, trying to predict. When we promoted, well, I wasn't promoting it, I was just told to speak here, but there were people who were promoting this open day. Hopefully, attracting the right sorts of people to come here, people who have a genuine interest in this material, and hence it's worthwhile. But you're still sat in those seats now. I've been speaking for 20, 25 minutes or so. Either you're being very polite because you don't want to sort of step out, or perhaps you're still sat here because you think this is of interest to you. So hopefully, the marketing team have done a good job and got the right sort of audience in the room. So typically, we wish to forecast. What kinds of things? This is by no means an exhaustive list. I offered these just as an interesting cross-section of examples. The malfunction of a machine, okay? A lift, a car, whatever. Do you wait for the big damage to take place, and hence there's a lot of cost to repair that damage, or can you preempt some sort of catastrophic failure of the machine, preempt it, undertake some minor maintenance work earlier, so you've got to pay, but the cost of that is much less than preparing the catastrophic repair. So there was my buy, not buy. Well, we can have a different binary prediction. Will malfunction, will not malfunction. If you predict it will, then you're going to service that thing. If it was going to malfunction, then that was a good idea, and you saved yourself money in the long run. Maybe it was not going to malfunction, but you took an action. Maybe in this case you might not be able to detect, if you prepared it, to then find out if it was still going to malfunction. So some kinds of forecast errors, some are observable, some are unobservable. Okay. That wasn't particularly that exciting. What about a heart attack? Goodness me. Well, I think we can look at both the medical and the insurance examples. Okay. The doctors, the medical doctors, they can try and predict who is more susceptible to a heart attack, cancer, whatever medical condition you care to consider. Maybe they'll do some DNA testing genetically. Some people are perhaps sort of biochemists in that sense, but you could look at their DNA genetic profile. Are certain people more susceptible to some disease than another? Not giving probabilities of 1 typically, but a probability of 70%, 80%, 90%. Doesn't prove they will go on and contract that condition, but probabilistically, in the long run, we hopefully will be right more often than we're wrong. So, do you give them some early treatment, some drugs to prevent the full heart surgery needing to be done thereafter? The insurance sector. In insurance, you insure your car, your house, your life. Insurance. It's all about decision making under uncertainty. The insurer needs to decide, okay, let's say I need to renew my car insurance. The insurer wants to know in the next 12 months, for the period of that policy, will I suffer a car accident, or will it be damaged or stolen, or whatever. Now, I don't know, the insurer doesn't know, no one knows. But they will ask certain things of me. Well, they will look at my track record. They will see I've got a no-claims bonus in the last 5, 7 years, whatever. There's not been an insurance claim. They will look at my age, they'll look at my gender, they'll look at my address, they'll look at where my car is parked, how many miles on average a year I drive, where I may drive, etc. In this case, trying to predict the probability of the car being stolen or damaged, a claim being made, and based on that, the action would be the appropriate price to charge for that policy. If the insurer knows I've got other insurers I could go to, it's a fairly competitive market, and if my insurer does not give me an acceptably low price, I'll probably go somewhere else. Now, it's a trade-off. They want to make the price as low as possible to be as competitive as possible, but other things equal, lower price is limiting their profit margin. So there's going to be some sort of balancing out. Finance. Prediction. Loans. Bank decides, someone goes to the bank, I want a loan for something. The bank would like to know, will this person default and therefore not repay the loan, or will they not default and repay that loan, presumably with some appropriate interest rate? Okay. Binary decision. The bank, I want money. The bank will either say yes or no, da or niet. But they're trying to know, they'd love to know for sure. If they knew I was going to default, they would not give me the loan. If they knew I would repay, they'd give me the loan. So, the truth. I would default, or I would not default. And again, when are we right, when are we wrong? When we're wrong is one error worse than the other error. So, in this case, a correct prediction. If the bank thinks it's a default, they will therefore refuse the loan. Okay? So the fact that they would have defaulted, it doesn't matter because I've not lent the money and therefore I've not lost any money. Sadly for these people, this is a bad decision for the bank. They've refused the loan, but the people would not have defaulted. Here, the bank is not going to know about these people, unknowable, because they've gone elsewhere. In this case, so if you predict that they won't default, you give them the loan. And then, in time, you find out whether or not they do repay. So these are the good people, they repay it. These don't, but these are no. The bank's going to lose some money here. Okay, that's bad. Are they going to lose money here? No. Well, on this specific loan, there's no loss. There's no loss. They didn't give out the loan, and so there's been no default. But sadly, this was some business they could have got, but they've thrown away. And especially in areas such as banking finance, I'm not sure about Russia, but in the UK, there's a statistic. It says, statistically, you are more likely to get divorced than to change your bank. That's for the UK. I don't know about elsewhere. You're more likely to get a divorce than to change your bank account. So you tend to buy not just one product from your bank, but multiple products. Cross-selling. I want a mortgage, I want a credit card, I want a loan, I want some pensions advice, I want you to manage my investments, etc., etc. So these people would have been good customers, but we've said goodbye to them. Had we managed to acquire them, they may have stayed with me for many, many years. And the customer lifetime value of that customer could have been huge. But sadly, we won't know about those people, but we will know about the losses there. So mistakes can occur, but which is worse? You lose money on that loan, or you lose no money, but you forfeit potentially a very profitable customer long term. It's subjective about which you feel is worse. But that is that. Homework. I'm a lecturer, and therefore I have to give you homework. Oh! Don't panic. I'm not going to check up on you. The homework is optional, but it's fun. Committing a crime. We spoke about law a little earlier, about potential issues about your data protection. Okay. Interesting thing about trying to predict whether someone will commit a crime or not. Who's heard of Tom Cruise? Yeah, me too. Okay. Tom and I are very, very similar in terms of height. That's about it. Now, he's been busy doing his Mission Impossible films for the last few years, but in, I think, 2001, 2002, there was a film called Minority Report. Minority Report. Anyone seen that film? No, okay, so a few years ago. Well, my little optional homework for you is, well, if you wish, you can watch the entire film, but, I appreciate the pressures on your time. It's probably an hour and a half, 2 hours of your life, and maybe you've got better things to do, but at the very least, watch the trailer for Minority Report. YouTube, whatever, just watch the 1 or 2 minute trailer. I could play it now, but I want to give you something to do afterwards. Okay. And basically the film, in summary, is about trying to predict crime. Okay, and there's this thing called pre-crime. Pre-crime. Okay. So rather than wait for the crime to be committed, wouldn't it be better if we could predict when the crime is going to take place, stop the crime from happening? That would be better overall. Okay? Especially if we were looking at, let's say, murder. Okay? Do you really want for a murder to be committed, then arrest the person and put them in prison? Or would it be better to stop the murder happening in the first place? That's sort of what the film is about. Now, in 2001, 2002, this was science fiction. I think today, still, it is science fiction. But maybe, I'm speculating about the future, which is uncertain. But gradually in time, maybe law enforcement agencies around the world are better able to preempt crimes and intervene and stop these things happening. Now, the reason I ask you to watch the trailer is that I want you to listen out for this phrase. False positives. Tom Cruise is like the leading character in it. He's not the one who asked this phrase, but in the trailer, one of the other police officers asks of the predictive system, do you ever get any false positives? Now, in this case, when you get it wrong, how severe is it? This is, you've given a loan, they don't repay, you've lost some money. If you were sensible, and it was a mortgage, you secured the loan against an asset, and the bank takes that asset and can recover, if not all of the money, hopefully most of it. Here, customer lifetime value, never realised, but they've no idea who they were and what that could have been. False positives. Let's say this predictive system predicted I was going to murder someone. And then the police storm in and stop this happening. If I was generally planning to murder someone, then that's right, they've made the right prediction and they prevented the victim from dying. But what if I wasn't intending to do this? What if it was a false positive? I'm now arrested for a crime I never got to commit and for a crime I never intended to commit. I now go to prison or whatever, and that's clearly a bad outcome. So my little optional homework task, just sort of watch the trailer of that. Ethical issues, we touched a bit on that. So, picture time! Data science. What is it? Okay. Different people will give you slightly or very different, perhaps, definitions. I like this one. Let's take away the word data and think about science. Okay, a scientist. Sure, many of you have done science at school in the laboratory, okay? And what does a scientist do? Well, part of it is storytelling. They will do their experiments and hopefully make some discoveries. And when they do make these discoveries, they're not just going to keep quiet about it, they will want to tell the world about their discoveries. Now, in an academia setting, that means publishing papers in research journals, but they still need to tell the story. Tell the story. And a data scientist is really doing that, but maybe not in a laboratory. There's no lab coat, there's no safety goggles, there's no chemicals and test tubes and things. Their alternative tools are, well, data, the ingredients, and then the computers to analyze them. But then they're going to hopefully make some discoveries and will then need to communicate them to the wider audience. Indeed, the communication theme that's set on that Venn diagram earlier. An excellent data scientist needs to be an excellent communicator, often communicating to a non-technical audience. You know, the CEO, the executive board of your company, they may not be that data literate. All they want to know from you as the data scientist is what they should do and a brief justification in non-technical terms why they should do it. So storytelling, it's an art as much as a science really here, and things such as the data visualization we saw earlier. A lot of data went into the reduction of just those 3 graphics, but immediately in fairly easy to understand terms, those non-technical audience, the board of the company say, could perhaps understand that very easily. So data visualization is a very powerful tool for that communication strand. So, and I think Albert Einstein said it very nicely, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Something I often tell my students is that as they prepare for exams and they do their revision, oh, have you learned this topic? And they go, yes, yes, yes. Well, the real proof about whether you know it is whether you can explain it maybe to a family member, someone who doesn't know that subject matter, and you explain it in layperson's terms. If you can, you do understand it. If you are unable to, you do not. So the communication skills are extremely important. What does data science involve? Exploration, not necessarily space discovery. Just for copyright reasons, this was a free image to use. Clearly, a space program, Russian space program, was launched from Baikonur in Kazakhstan. Of course, space is becoming more commercialized. Historically, it used to be state actors launching rockets and satellites into space. Now it's increasingly more commercial organizations. That's the point. But data science is exploration. You've got to dig through the data. Data mining is a phrase you may have come across. Well, again, strip off data, focus on mining. What is mining? Let's say this is your gold mine, and you're going to go digging around in the ground, hopefully trying to find gold. Or maybe you're looking for diamonds or oil or whatever. If you are lucky, the first place you look, you will make that discovery. But it's ultimately luck. And luck comes in 2 types. Good luck and bad luck. And all of us in our lives, we all experience both good luck and bad luck. If life was fair, we would all experience roughly equal proportions of good luck and bad luck. I will let you be your own judge and jury about your experiences. Do you feel you've had more good or bad luck in your lives? Maybe the first place I look for gold, I strike gold. But maybe I fail. Not through my fault per se, I'm unlucky. I perhaps done a geological study and I deem this type of soil or earth has a high probability but not certainty of having all gold in it. Maybe I find it straight away, maybe I fail. Maybe I need to sort through a lot of earth before I find that gold nugget. You can't predict exactly how long it's going to take, but sooner or later, of course we would always like it to be sooner, we are generally impatient people, rather than later, but hopefully at some point discoveries are made. Mining your data. Now go away from mining to data mine. mining this huge volume of information, all of the stuff there, okay? A lot of it is noise. That's like the earth which doesn't have the gold or diamonds or oil in it. You're looking for the signal, the equivalent of those gold, diamonds and oil. And hopefully you'll make those discoveries quite quickly, but no guarantees. Okay. So, all about data. I'll give this sort of business flavour. I think I've touched on some of these examples anyway. We can relate it to Alibaba, for example. Understanding your customers. Cross-selling, increased sales and cross-selling. Alibaba saw that someone bought this coat. Now they're going to hopefully push them to buy something else. The bank, they decided you're not going to default. They give you a loan to buy the house, the mortgage. Now they're going to cross-sell, try and give you a credit card, a loan for a car, whatever it may be. Cross-selling. Customer segmentation. I say business data here. In the UK, there's going to be a general election on the 12th of December. How exciting! Or not. But it's happening. And right now, the political parties, maybe not businesses, not trying to sell a product per se, but the political parties in the UK, it is a form of selling. They're selling a set of policies. The consumers, they're not people spending money, it's the voters who get to cast a vote. So rather than trying to sell a product, these political parties are trying to attract votes. And there'll be huge amounts of social media campaigns, many quite hyper-targeted. Fairly different voter groups, often demographically, gender, age group, with blue-collar, white-collar workers, etc., geographically where they are. Then they'll make predictions about what kinds of issues matter most to those voters and what their views on those issues may be. If they do this correctly and fairly accurately, then hopefully they can give the right kind of messaging to those voters and persuade them to cast the vote for that party. A form of segmentation, in this case of voters. I'm not privy to what the political parties are doing in the UK. I don't know how granularly they are doing this. There is the electorate in the UK. Well, there's one segment. What we'd really like to do is refine this and refine this and refine this and get many hyper-targeted segments. I'm not involved with that, so I don't know how much they're doing of this, but the potential is clearly there. Other ones, industrial process data, goodness me. Flying, gosh, I fly quite a bit. Every flight I'm on is going to be generating data. New models of aircraft are coming forward all of the time. I was reading somewhere that in about 5 years' time, the new generation commercial aircraft each will probably generate, I forget the amount, but something like 80 times the amount of data that the older aircraft are generating. On one transatlantic flight, huge numbers of sensors and things collecting vast troves of data. For what use? Maybe for engineering usage, looking at the fuel efficiency of the aircraft, maybe for customer service. The more variables that the airline collects data on for each passenger, they can offer a more personalised service. Just in brief, I'm conscious of time, financial market data. Finance, that's where the money is. Yay. Hedge funds, for example. Many are these sort of quantitative hedge funds, statistical hedge funds, mining vast amounts of financial data, so-called tick data, high-frequency data. For what purpose? To make money. How? By trying to detect patterns, trends, relationships, trying to predict whether a price of an asset is going to go up or down, and they will trade accordingly. You can do your own research of the... You can do your own research about the performance of these quantitative hedge funds. Are they getting it right? Are they getting it wrong? Are they experiencing multiple years of very good returns? Or is it a run of good luck? Or is it a run of good skill? Well, anyone can be lucky once. To have good luck repeatedly is quite a challenge. In my earlier talk, I was speaking about your reputations, the credibility of degrees. Well, as a forecaster, let's say I predict something correctly. If I do it once, was it skill or was it luck? I would claim it was skill, but it's difficult to convince you necessarily of that. But if I am that good, I should be able to forecast something correctly, not just once, but repeatedly. I'm not perfect, no one is. No one's going to predict things perfectly all of the time. But if you can establish a good track record, a strong reputation for consistently predicting things broadly correctly, so much the better. So those investment managers, they are trying to advertise and encourage people to give them their money to invest on their behalf for some nice commission and fee. Well, they will try and look for those patterns, trends, relationships for financial gain. Personal data, text unstructured data, image data, biomedical data, etc., etc. Note, we're not necessarily just looking at business applications. For you in the room, I have no idea what your personal interests are. Do you see yourselves working for an e-commerce giant? Do you see yourselves working for a pharmaceutical company? Your drugs trials, a lot of some friends of mine work in the pharmaceutical industry, and the big pharma companies will have quite large data science teams. The methods you're applying, they are very much, can very much be applied across multiple sectors. It's just that, is your data finance related? Is it business related? Is it DNA sequences, etc.? The method is very much transferable across those sectors. So there's really something for everyone. Big data, great. Definitions, difficult. Big data is a lovely phrase, many people like to use it. Do people really agree on exactly what big data means? Note here, I've just taken a few sources. You can decide for yourselves whether you trust these sources or not. There's a time dimension. It's an evolving picture. I think think of it this way. One of the key challenges is what we call data reduction. Okay? Imagine you have a spreadsheet. Okay? A spreadsheet. You've got rows, you've got columns. Okay? That's like an Excel spreadsheet. But just imagine a really, really large Excel spreadsheet. Typically, as far as the columns are concerned, these are going to be variables. For each of you, you will possess multiple characteristics. You're going to have a name, okay? A name, a label, an identifier, a unique name to identify you. You may have a passport number, you'll have an age, you'll have a gender, you'll have an income group, you'll have an address, all of these variables. And then, let's say, row-wise, we'll think of this as perhaps our observations. So as far as big data is concerned, just conceptually, think of it as a vast spreadsheet with not 10 columns, but however many, bigger number you can think of, columns, and a huge number of rows. Very often, this huge Excel spreadsheet is quite sparse. Namely, not every cell has a data point in it. There's a lot of missing observations. But some of the key challenges will involve trying to reduce the dimensionality of that big Excel spreadsheet. Try and compress all of this very large number of variables into a smaller number somehow. These individual consumers, we would like to compress into specific consumer segments, say. Okay. And so a lot of the research being conducted in the big data field is trying to be able to do or reduce vast data sets, but typically not on big supercomputers, but your standard laptop or PC we have here. So some of the challenges for the future. I like this one. The 4 or 5 V's. Challenges. Volume, variety, velocity, value. I love the fifth one of vanity. It's a sort of bonus one in the end. So volume. Large size of data sets, yes, or maybe what might on the surface look like a big data problem might be lots of small data problems in disguise. Variety, the lack of homogeneity. Data's being collected. It's not all numerical data, qualitative data as well, from different sources. It's going to take a lot of cleaning, data preparation ready for analysis. The speed at which data is collected. I've said about how much is collected in the last 2 or 3 years. The value, we need to figure out the signal from the noise. But I want to touch on the final V, vanity. there's a danger in the world of big data that if you go looking for relationships, you indeed may get some false positives. A couple of examples. Two lines, a red line and a green line. This is real data, time series data. Okay? In green, US spending on science, space and technology. In red, suicides, happy thought, by hanging, strangulation and suffocation. Data over about a 10-year period. They are very closely related. At the bottom it says something called correlation. If you don't know what correlation is, I'll give you a 10-second lesson. Correlation takes values between -1 and +1. Positive value, they are positively related. One goes up, the other goes up. One goes down, the other goes down. If it's negative, they go in opposite directions. One goes up, one goes down. The stronger that correlation is, the nearer that value is to +1 or -1. That's all you need to know for now. That correlation 0.992082 is there. Okay. Red flag. Computer says this is a highly significant relationship. These two are highly correlated. But correlation does not necessarily mean causality. And this is where human brains can be of great service. I personally can think of no reason to link those two series. This is a spurious correlation, an example of a false positive. Now that's one example, but I've got one more which is my favourite. I'm married, okay. I try to be a good husband. I try. My wife will be the judge and jury about how successful I am. So much so that, for example, I like to do things around the house, do some housework. For example, sometimes I would like to make the bed, change the bed sheets, okay? It's quite nice now because I'm staying in a hotel, so that's done for me, so when I'm traveling I don't need to do it. But I try and do it. Well, actually, no, I don't. I used to try and do it by myself. But then I discovered some data, and because of that data, it changed my behavior. The data, the evidence follows. Two series, red and yellow. Yellow, revenue generated by skiing facilities, US. Red, and hopefully this is a life lesson for everyone in this room. Number of people who died by becoming tangled in their bed sheets. Now, I'll admit it, when I was changing the bed sheets by myself, it was a fairly large bed, and sometimes I got into a bit of difficulty. But at no point did I think I was at risk of death. But as soon as I saw that, I thought, I love my wife very much, but there's a limit to my love. I am not putting my life at stake, and so now, changing the bed sheets is a two-person job in our household. So if we do die when changing the bed sheets, we at least die together. Semi-romantic. Okay. Thank you. But true, I no longer do this solo. And when I saw it, I thought maybe it was like a freak accident, maybe just one or two people sadly died in this way. But no! Look at the axis. Hundreds dying every year. Now this is, it's for the US. I don't know how it compares in other countries, but I'm not running the risk. Okay, I'm conscious of time. I'll go through this one quite briefly. I've already looked at a banking example about defaulting versus not defaulting. Bank of America. This was about marketing, advertising. Okay. Basically, they were trying to grow their sales, get more customers. And clearly, banks, it's about savings and loans, right? And really the price of the product, in banking terms, it's the interest rate. As a saver, you want a high interest rate. As a borrower, you want a low interest rate. So the interest rate, effectively the price, and of course the bank is able to vary the price to make the product look more or less attractive. So they were, Bank of America, case study example, were doing this mail shot campaign, but it wasn't proving to be very successful. There was a failure to attract enough new customers. So something was wrong. They could compete on price, lower the price. But like I gave with the insurance example earlier, lower the price, More likely, more competitive, you get the custom, but it lowers your profit margin. Lower the interest rates on the loans, you may give out more loans, but your profit margin is squeezed. Maybe you are attracting the disloyal customers, the high-risk customers. So they were doing this advertising campaign. And then they wanted to try and improve it. Remember, a business function, improve something you're currently doing to make it better. Can we do something new, but look to improve what you're already doing? So, just in brief, I mentioned variables. Well, there we go. Records, the data, the variables they have on their customers. I think many of these seem somewhat self-explanatory, but many more than those. And then they were doing some predictive analytics and simply classifying someone as a likely responder to a marketing campaign or an unlikely responder. Well, think of it in terms of those probabilities. Is this profile person going to respond? If that probability is above 50%, 0.5, they are an LR, a likely responder, otherwise an unlikely responder. Okay? Then they did cluster analysis. It's segmentation. All of the customers they've got, dividing them up into different segments. How do you do cluster analysis segmentation? It features as part of this degree program. Fascinating stuff. They found 14 clusters. Most had no interesting features, but then they found one interesting case. One cluster was like an outlier. It stood out. And with a bit of human thought, they looked at the profiles of this cluster. Who tended to be in it? And relative to the other 13, this cluster had lots of people where they had joint products, the business and personal accounts, and a high proportion of likely responders. In short, from this, with a bit of thought, they came up with an insight. That insight there in blue. They then changed the messaging of their campaign. Simply, the catchphrase of their campaign. Changed it from one thing to another. They turned it into something more relevant, and look at the effect it had. 0.7% take-up rate to 7%. This is great. You will never get 100% take-up on any marketing campaign. It would be nice, but that's not for this world. This open day, we would not expect every single person who comes here to all apply. We would love it if they did, but that's highly unrealistic. I have no idea in university application cycles what sort of good success rate would be. But this did increase tenfold. It was an amazing success. Remember, we're not looking for perfection, but this is a tenfold improvement, and hence they'll be very happy with it. Almost done, then we'll close. So, what kinds of methods are employed by the data scientist? Many of these things will be included in some of the modules as part of this degree. Some I've made a specific reference to, such as the clustering, rerum cognoscere causas, to understand the causes of things. Regression is your primary tool for doing that. Lots of regression within the degree. Market basket analysis, the segmentation, cross-selling of products, network analysis, on Facebook, suggested friends. A knows B, B knows C, therefore A and C may have something in common and may wish to be connected with each other. Now, within a finite degree program, there's a limit, not just for this degree, but what any degree program can teach you. We try to max optimize the content of this to make it as relevant and useful for you as future data scientists. And so remember, I am British. So I have to end on a little British note. This is a play on words, jeu de mots in French. Keep calm and carry on was like a sort of wartime sort of campaign to get people to sign up and support the war effort. But it's a variation of it. Keep calm and analyze your data. Spasibo.